Good morning, grand rising. Blessings to each of you who are gathering around the world in preparation for the vernal equinox and World Water Day. And those were two topics that popped into my mind this morning as I thought about the future. And even though it's only the immediate future, they are not only part of a long distance future, but they're also a part of a long distance past, which was the future of our ancestors. We are the future of our ancestors. And we have children and grandchildren and great grandchildren who are looking forward to a future that we have an influence over. And that's what I'm going to talk about this morning. And it may sometimes sound like a lecture, and I know I do that, and I apologize sometimes. You know the word sometimes. But it's all about the blessing for all of us and how we come into a deeper relationship with ourselves, and in that moment become part of a deeper relationship with the environment around us, which supports everyone else. So good morning, Wilfred from the Philippines. Bless you. Thank you for being here. So I know I'm live somewhere, showing up live somewhere. And may you all be blessed with this glorious day. So, I would like to just open with a simple message for all of us to hold in our hearts all who are not in a good place right now within their own hearts. And we ask for forgiveness for those who are so far out of that stable place in their hearts that they are acting with cruelty and deep-hearted devastation for others. And it's happening all over the world. So as we come together this morning, I just ask everybody to just take a moment to send your light and your love to all those who are suffering, whether it be physical, emotional, or just inability to cope with what we call the future. Bless you all and thank you. And that's the topic of my talk this morning. The future is ... And the message came mostly because of the vernal equinox and World Water Day. But as I was writing my show notes and receiving the information, I realized that it's a much bigger picture. And as I come to you and speak right now, I realize how much of a bigger picture it is. But it's important that we begin somewhere to look at the future. And whether it's the future of the next hour or whether it's the next 100 years is really no different. Because what we do in this moment to align with a future that is unknown is what's really important. So that's my introduction. I have this card, and hopefully, yeah, they're beautiful galactic picture, and there's actually, and so there's a amazing interplay in space between these two galaxies as we look at it from this point. And the card is Inner Light. And it reads as follows: I follow my inner star. For as I carry my light, I then become a glowing example of light and love. And the affirmations are: being one with Source, I'm a vessel of love and light. I then become a beacon of light to others. We glow with the light of the Creator. We see each other through the vision given by God. This light is unlimited, true life. And that was just in the last moment as I signed on here to Humanity Healing. I pulled that card out of this deck. And it's so appropriate for all of us to consider, when we consider the future, the light that we are. And many of us may not feel like we're very brilliant at this point in our existence after a year of isolation, after a year of fear, after a year, which is still continuing, but it is at least now we're seeing some relief, some return of hope in people's hearts for a future. And it's important for each of us to look into the future, not be so heavily dwelling on this moment, because this moment, when we focus too deeply on this moment, what happens is we actually are blocking the future from reaching us. And I say that gently. I'm sure there are many teachings who will say something else, but I speak from my own personal heart that when I focus too strongly on what's going on in the moment, everything else disappears. And it's a process that's natural. It's not something that is to be ashamed of. It's who we are as humans. And we live in a world that's rapidly creating, I don't know what to call them. I would like to call them obstacles, but they're not obstacles. I would like to call them distortions, but they're not distortions. Many of them are beautiful engagements that we can have with each other and with all of life, but they become somewhat of a distraction to allowing the future to show up and for us to embrace it as wonderful. That's what is really happening. So how do we shift that and change that? How do we become more able to invite the future, the unknown, into our hearts with respect, with enthusiasm, and realize that the more we keep thinking about what we're doing or what's happening to us or what somebody else is doing, it actually is a distraction to the present moment. And so we're not even feeling the present moment anymore. What we're doing is engaging in conversation with our mind. And as long as we're in conversation with our mind, we're no longer feeling and understanding what's happening in the energetic field of the world around us that actually is there to propel us into what we call a future. It may sound confusing. When I think about it, a lot of times it's confusing for me. What I have to remember is that there's a past and there's a future. And somehow I'm in the middle, the center of that. And I can be only affected by the future and the past in relationship to how much I pay attention to it. And that within this center point, if I just gather everything into me and churn it over and over and over and over again, it becomes like playing a record. I remember when I was a little kid, we had, well, there were 33 RPM records. They were this big giant things, and my father loved jazz. And he'd play them over and over and over again. But it was always going around and watching that record and going around the record and realizing that was, when I look back now, that was a symbol of what we're going through now. Is we're going around and around and around, and there's no release. We're doing it over and over and over and over. We're just doing it and doing it and doing it. The future is inviting us to let go of that record. It's inviting us to say it's time to either change the record and get a new one. And if you want to be in that center circle and just go around and around and around and around for the rest of your life, well, at least change the record. But the message the universe is really giving to us right now is to let go and become the sovereign being that you truly are. So we can look at our living process right now as always being in this moment, and we're kind of stuck. We bounce back and forth between the past and the future. But the real issue right now is fear, and how fear has taken a hold of our conscious awareness to become unstuck from this pattern of the record. We have to face our fears. And it doesn't matter whether those fears come from childhood. It doesn't matter whether they're coming from present relationships. And it doesn't matter if they're coming from the outside world around us, directing and controlling us. We need to look fear in the face and stand in our sovereign power and say, I am light, and you have no power over me. And it's not to be said in an arrogant way or a defiant way, but a recognition that somewhere in this center point between past and future, there is this light being that you are. And right now it's being called forth. It's called forth to separate the illusions or the darkness. I call it the illusions are basically create a darkness. They're the shadows. And to dissipate them And each one of us have them personally as well as collectively. So it's important for us now to really take a look at our personal package and realize that it's not about separating, it's about becoming aware of being in the middle of all of this. Julie says energetic permission level is rising. Yes, permission. We have to give ourselves permission, not anybody else. We have to give ourselves permission and tap into that energy that is allowing us, inviting us to move into it. Margaret saying the future's here and we are it, and we are our own. Grateful Dead throwing stones. We've spoken of this before. We've written songs about this before. We actually gathered and danced and have been together, many of us, around all of this. This learning to recognize now. As I wrote in the post thing for the talk, learn to recognize the now, the moment in the wave of time that allows us to be free from all illusions. And that's what it's about. That's about the future. The future is now. The future is not separate. It's all part of this wholeness. It's an outer field of who we are. And the only thing that keeps us from it is the walls we have built. The walls that we have built through fear, through oppression, through trauma, personal trauma. We all have personal trauma. I can tell you my story, you can tell me your story, and we could look at the similarities and it would look just like the inside of an old clock where the gears just all mesh together, and there may be different words to describe it. There may be different visions that come from listening to the story. But the story is the same, is how do we process trauma? And that's why I started with this prayer this morning in honoring of those women who were murdered. And I realize that this is how far we have come, that we can't get out of our own way, that our pain and our suffering is so great that we actually want to take the lives of innocent people. The hope is the future is always there. We are always moving into the future. We cannot avoid the future. We can build walls, we can build steel, cages around ourselves. We cannot stop the future. In essence, we are the future. Everything we're doing this moment, everything I'm saying in this moment, the minute it leaves my mouth, it becomes part of the past. That's how quick. The future is the next word that I don't even know that I'm going to speak coming to you. Even the words that I've written down, they're all past. They're gone. The only moment we have is this moment right here, where you and I are exchanging energy. Whether we like the energy or we don't like the energy, That's your personal sovereignty to like or not like, or to resonate with or not resonate with. And that's what we need to remember, is that the future depends on our ability to let go of what we think about something and feel the heart resonance with it. And this is not in my show notes. But as I talk in this moment, the future is coming in and at you. And I want you to look at that and realize that in your own life, this is what we need to trust, is what's coming in. Trust it. Even if you may not like it, even it may feel negative. Know that the future is always there to embrace us and welcome us. Because we are more a part of the future than we are of what the past is. The problem is we keep dragging this past with us. We hold on to it, and we've got this giant sack. I'm seeing like a Santa Claus bag, a sack of all of this heavy stuff. And it's no wonder we can't move forward. That's what equinox brings to us. The equinoxes, the vernal equinox and the autumnal equinox, are both a time of preparation. And our ancestors knew this because their survival relied on it. They didn't have a grocery store to go to. They didn't have, the structure, the social structure we had. They had to survive by their own ability to know when it was time to plant, when it was time to, work with the land, with the earth, the elements, when the snow was going to end, so that what they planted didn't get killed in a frost. And there were always mistakes. But that's how they lived. They lived in a cycle of inviting, knowing that the future was coming and preparing for it. We become lazy. We just think somebody else is going to do it. Oh, I don't do it. They'll do it. My boss will do it. The grocery store will do it. My government will do it. Silly us. Take a look at what they're doing. Take a look around you right now and look what all of those people are doing. All of those structures that we've created to insulate ourselves from the future. What are they doing? I'm not trying to find fault, but I'm trying to create a new way for all of us to look forward into the future and realize that we have a responsibility, each one of us, to understand our sovereignty, which is really the ability to be totally free from any attachments to what has happened in the past or what is possible in the future. Because the minute we attach ourselves, we're stuck. I'm seeing some kind of a sticky ball where you throw it against something and it sticks, against the wall. And I just saw this. Some little kid was playing with, I think it was my grandson, had some toy that if you throw it hard enough against the wall, it's stuck. And that's what happens to us, is we get stuck. And right now, with the vernal equinox coming, we had the new moon, and we've got World Water Day coming up. And that's my next topic is water. Because we are water. And if water doesn't flow and it doesn't evaporate or change and embrace the future structure of itself, it becomes stagnant. It becomes putrefied. It becomes incapable of sustaining life other than bacteria or algae. Not that they're bad things, I'm not judging them. They have their purpose. But they no longer serve the greater whole of life. And if we look around the world right now, how much pollution is there in the water? And how many people are just saying, oh, well, the government will take care of that, or somebody else. No, I can't do anything about it. That pollution that's in that water is in your body. We are water. On a molecular structure level, I believe we're over 90%. I think the quote was, knowing that 99%, excuse me, I'll get my card here. Knowing that 99% of the molecules in my body are water, I pledge to nourish my own inner water by choosing healthy thoughts, words, emotions, and actions. That's from a Water First pledge card that you can get from lovingwaters.life. This is where we are. The future is water. And when we look at and shift our awareness to the water and how we are physically compromised of it and it becoming stagnant, it doesn't look very bright. And we can recognize in our human behavior that we no longer flow forward in patterns that create positive energy, which when a river or water is flowing, it creates vortexes of positive energy as it shifts from side to side and turns. And it creates a positive energy. And so when we wonder why am I so depressed? Why am I not feeling good? Part of it is because our energetic vortex is not being nourished by the water, because the water is not healthy. The water's not healthy, we become unhealthy. We have water systems that pour all kinds of chemicals to supposedly keep us from bacteria and germs. Well, why don't we fix what's creating the bacteria and the germs in the water? Why don't we decide that there's a better way to work with the source rather than looking at it as a commodity? And that's what we've done. Society is now made water a commodity, at least here in the United States. And that's a very dangerous place to be, because now you have taken the sacred life giving power of water and imprisoned it in a world where it's about dollars and profit and loss. The loss is going to be life. And this has got to be brought into the conscious awareness of everyone. It doesn't matter what we can do or we can't do at this point. Right now, it's about awareness. And I ask each of you to make water a cause in your life. Because if we don't look at this now, our future generations will pay the price. And we have the opportunity now to come together as a whole humanity and say, whoa, wait a minute. You're saying to me that I'm now a commodity. They may not think of it in that term, but we become that in that decision that makes water a commodity. There are people all over the world who have no water. And if they have water, it's so dirty and nasty that they become disease ridden and they die. But it's the only water they have. So we have to really come together now. This year is a water year. And wherever you are, come together around whatever's happening that has a positive effect on the water where you live. Because we're not only going to suffer from the pollution of the water, but the pollution of our consciousness that will come to terms to accept that water is just a commodity. Water is life. No water, no life is the truth. No water, no life. There will be life, but not active life. There's life in rocks. There's life in crystals. But it's not going to move. It's not going to flow. It's not going to have the attributes of water. It's just going to be static life. Carry that in your hearts. Carry this in your hearts on the 22nd, Monday. A lot of people around the world are gathering in a lot of different ways. I'm going to be part of Connection Field, Good of the Whole. I'll be doing water ceremonies or with people who are doing them either physically or on video network. Join with people around the water. Listen to what they have to say. My wish for each of you is to look at the future not as something to fear, because that's what the world powers want you to do. Because if you're in fear, you're easy to control. And I want you to tap into your sovereign self, that feeling of sovereignty, that true identity, the one that gets hurt, the one that loves, the one that has feelings of compassion for others. And have that part of you look from where you are, this powerful place as a sovereign, unique individual with a mind of its own. It's been trained by the world around it. But when we connect that brain to the heart and then look at what's around us, we immediately see the difference. Know that each one of us make a difference. And what we do, what we say, where we go, how we react changes the future for everyone else. Because the future is now. On World Water Day, go out and sit near your water sources, whether they be rivers, ponds, the source of your, where it's a reservoir, where you get your water from, where it flows from. Just sit by it, listen to it, ask it a few questions. If it's warm enough to go swimming in it and you're able to do that, go, be in it. Water is the source of our physical beingness. No water, no flesh. Be the water. Be the sovereign being. Be the future. And in closing, I wrote these simple words. Our human future is held in the future of water. It's my gift to the water today. It's my gift to the water in you. That's my gift to whoever has a heart that's pumping. What are they pumping? What are the hearts pumping? The heart, I was told yesterday, is really not a pump, but we commonly think of it as that. I love you. I thank you. I respect you. I am you. You are me. We are unity. We are one water. A living expression of that water. And I want to thank you all for listening to my reflections every week. And I hope that you take away at least something, even if you disagree with me. It's something. We don't have to follow everybody. We don't have to agree with everybody. But know that in that moment of disagreement, it's an opportunity to dive deeper into the waters of ourselves and question, where does my thought and my understanding come from? And is that thought beneficial for everyone, not just me? Bless you as I read some of your posts on the sidelines. And bless you, Michelle, for what you're writing about your mother. My heart goes out to you, and I pray for you that you come back to being the helper that you are. And remember that you are more powerful than all that has happened. Respect and feel. This is for all of us. When we're damaged by what happens, honor that, mourn that, carry that, but not to the point where it destroys you. We need to give the past an end. And that end will be different for each and every one of us. And it will arrive in ways and moments that are unpredicted, unplanned. But set the intention to let the past move off into the stream as we receive the incoming stream of water. Allow the future to flush, as water does, all that is distorted, all that is vile, all that is not in order or in right relationship with who we truly are as a sovereign being. And know that we rise. As the water evaporates, it rises. It's no longer water, but it's that vapor. Become that vapor that will go through that cycle and process of rising and returning to the tops of the mountains and flowing back down again. Cleaner, clearer, released from the past. Here to embrace the future. The future is now, and it's happening. And the sooner we can align with that consciously, everything in our lives will shift and change. Happy equinox. Happy World Water Day. Happy you. See you next Friday. And bless you all. And know that you are loved. No matter what happens, you are always loved. Because you are love.